Good morning, Patriots. This is Praying Medic. It is Wednesday, April 25th, and this is my latest Q update. Q has been busy, posting like crazy last couple of days. I have had to do a lot more research on this particular series than in most of them. Lots of links, a lot of things to research, so I apologize at the beginning of this video. There are going to be quite a few links that I'll kind of introduce you to and give you the basics on those. My theme for this series is Iran is next. Q gets the party started posting this on the 22nd. That's a YouTube video, and it is a speech by Ronald Reagan.
Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools, and our honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. In great forces around the moon and the world, we learn their spirits, not enemies. He said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
All right, Q moves on and has a long post. I'm going to read this for you. Reminder, Iran is next. Marker, class-section 11A, P, I believe is paragraph 2.2, installments, 250 billion, January 1, June 1. No inspection at GZ, ground zero, and our nuclear reactor sites. No missile tech prevention. Load carrying. ICBM. Think NK, North Korea. Who controls the money? Who really controls the money? Why does the EU have a vested interest in this deal? Who receives the money? When the U.S. sends billions in aid and or climate and or etc., who or what entity audits or tracks to confirm the intended recipients and have received it? No one. How does GS, George Soros, fund WW worldwide counter events? Who funds worldwide leftist events? American taxpayer. Subsidize it. Define nuclear standoff. Who benefits? How do you squeeze funds out of the U.S.? Threat to humanity? Environmental push? Think Paris Accord. Who audits, tracks the funneled money? Define kickback. Define slush fund. EPA, no oversight regarding Hussein. Why? How does the C_A fund non-sanctioned ops? Off the books? Read past drops, will become relevant. Welcome, Mr. President. The U.S. will not agree to continue the Iran deal as it currently stands. Q. Alrighty, lots to cover in here. Just give you kind of a brief overview, and then we'll dive into some of this in a little bit more. When Q writes the word class in general, it has something to do with federal employees or legislation. In previous drops, Q has written class 1, 2, and 3, and I believe it referred to people who are working with James Comey. I think it referred to Andrew McCabe, James Urbicki, and I forget who the third person was. In previous posts, it is also referred to senators and congressmen. Sometimes it refers to legislation. What else can I tell you in here real quick? Some of the abbreviations that Q uses, GZ, Ground Zero, and our nuclear reactor, are not universal, although you can generally, if you look at the context, he's talking about missile tech prevention, Ground Zero, and nuclear reactor sites. Kind of makes sense. You can interpret a lot of Q's things well if you understand the context and put everything in the context of what is being spoken about. A word about GS is almost always George Soros. WW has always referred to worldwide. Now, I know there are people on YouTube who are decoding Q who have decoded WW as referring to World War, but it has never meant that. And I wish, well, I got my wish, because today, later on in this video, you'll see Q cleared up what WW means. All right. One thing I did want to mention here real quick. Q says define nuclear standoff. Q has used this phrase in the past. He's simply referring to a situation where you're being forced to do something, where both sides have a vested interest, and it's not a literal nuclear standoff, it's a metaphor, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, some other things. Whenever Q says who controls the money, who really controls the money? It's almost always talking about either the CIA, George Soros, the Rothschilds, or some entity that they don't want to talk about publicly. All right, just wanted to give some basic tips for those of you who are new to Q. All right, so Q said this, marker. Whenever Q says marker, it's something to take note of. It's something extremely relevant, and it's something that he'll refer to in the future. So, class section 11A, paragraph 2.2. I did a little bit of research, and this is what I came up with. This is a document from WikiLeaks, although it's publicly available in other places. This is a Congressional Research Service report, RL 31502, on nuclear, biological, chemical, and missile proliferation. Okay, selected current law, updated January 8th, 2007. I believe that this, what Q referred to here, is found in this document, and I'm going to show you why. Essentially, this document makes provisions and outlines how the president is required to deal with nations and entities that are possibly guilty of missile and weapons proliferation. So this is, I believe, it's the basis for the Iran deal. So here you go, Section 11B, right? So Q referred to Section 11A, paragraph 2.2. All right, so Section 11A, multilateral export control violations, all right? This is paragraph 1 right here, and this is paragraph 2 down here. And there are some footnotes in between them that are not considered actually part of the text. So this is what Q is referring to. Now let me go back to, I'll just give you what I found that is relevant. Okay, this is a summary. The report offers a listing of, it's a brief description of legal provisions that require or authorize the imposition of some form of economic sanctions against countries, companies, or persons that violate U.S. non-proliferation norms. For each provision, information is included on what triggers the imposition of sanctions, their duration, what authority the president has to delay or abstain from imposing sanctions, and what authority the president has to waive the imposing of sanctions. All right, like I said, I believe this is the basis for Obama's Iran deal, and that is why Q is referring to it. So let me show you really quickly here what is relevant to our discussion. And if I can get this to fit in here, let me zoom out just a little bit. There we go. All right. What is relevant to our discussion is this section here. So this is paragraph 1, the top, and the bottom is paragraph 2. Paragraph 1 outlines the situations where the president must prohibit the government from contracting with an entity found to be in violation of any participating country's national security export regulations. That's the top paragraph. The bottom paragraph outlines situations where the president may choose not to apply sanctions to an entity found to be in violation of any of the participating country's national security export regulations. The bottom paragraph, paragraph 2, provides a loophole. It provides a loophole for the president not to impose sanctions on an offending nation. Okay? That, I believe, is what Q is referring to. So, why is any of this relevant? Well, I plowed through so many articles over the last couple of days, and I found this one. It's very interesting. It's on the Lawfare blog. And this is an interesting article. Let me jump over there and just show you. I was just curious to know what would happen if the president really decided to decertify the Iran deal. What were the consequences for the U.S. if we decided not to continue in the Iran deal, right? So this is an opinion by an attorney, right? It's a good article. And I got down here to this section of, where it all came from. Barack Obama administration maintained that the JCPOA, that's the acronym for the Iran deal, was not legally binding. Let me jump back to my Twitter thread here. And did not require Senate approval. The U.S. could stop implementing the deal at any time without violating the obligations under international law because it's not a treaty. In order to fulfill the U.S. commitment, the administration relied on pre-existing authorities that gave the president discretion in the application of sanctions against Iran. That is what we just read. In this previous document, we read where the president has discretion about applying sanctions, right? Specifically, the administration utilized existing waiver authorities that previous sanction legislation had granted to the president. Executive orders allowed the president to impose other sanctions and could be withdrawn with relative ease. So this article argues that President Obama used this section to make the Iran deal, to keep it away from Congress, no congressional approval, no congressional oversight, completely on the whim of the president. And so Q points out something very significant. Let me go back to the post here. Okay, the problem with the Iran deal is that there is no inspection outside of Iran. Iran essentially self-inspects, and they report to the International Atomic Energy Commission. They're self-reporting, they're self-inspecting. There is no one outside who's doing it. And it's a bit crazy because all these nations are saying, you know, Iran hasn't been found in violation of the agreement yet. Well, how does anyone know? Iran is the one that is inspecting their own compliance. It allows Iran to essentially build missile technology, build nuclear weapons, and not tell anyone about it. And I suspect that Trump knows what Iran is doing. We have really good intelligence, and I suspect that he wants us to get out of the Iran deal because he knows it will allow them to build a weapon and we'll have no way to stop it. And that is the research I did on that little piece. And Q asked this, no oversight regarding Hussein. Why? How does a C_A CIA fund non-sanctioned ops? Off the books. CIA black ops are kept away from congressional oversight. Obama did a lot of things without congressional approval or knowledge, funded a lot of black ops, CIA operations through various creative means. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Q wrote this: installments, 250 billion, January 1, June 1. Why does the EU have a vested interest in this deal? Who receives the money? I'm guessing that the EU is receiving kickbacks twice a year, 250 billion, for being a party to the Iran deal. Why else would they sign off on this crazy deal? It just wouldn't make any sense. So we know that there are some secret side deals that were made as part of the Iran deal, but we don't know their full extent. This is an article from The Hill. The White House acknowledges side deals between Iran and the International Atomic Energy Association, which is the governing agency over the Iran deal. Yeah, there were definitely some secret side deals made. And one of them was probably a deal that gave the EU a bunch of money. Q asks about what happens when fines and fees are paid for non-compliance with green laws, the Paris Accord, or laws imposed by the EPA. Where does the money go? It is taxpayer money that is going to slush funds, which fund the globalist activities a la George Soros and Media Matters and Correct the Record and all the leftist agendas. You and I are funding their activities. Does that explain why Scott Pruitt is taking so much fire as EPA director? Because a lot of these EPA regulations and agencies collect fines, and they funnel that money right into the leftist causes, which is why the Democrats and the liberals are freaking out about Scott Pruitt, because he is going to shut down the slush funds and all the money that's being funneled into their causes. Q posted a link to an article about the resignation of Armenia's president after weeks of anti-government protests. Do you believe the world is awakening? Here's the link. Coincidence? Q. Here is, it's just an article that talks about the Prime Minister of Armenia resigning after weeks of protests, and you can check that out if you want. And Q said this: why was Armenia mentioned recently? Clowns losing control. Q. This is on the 23rd. This post was from the 15th. Clown unique IDs here. Armenia. Google QAnon search stats by country. Armenia is number 1. So Q is basically saying a week ago that Armenian CIA people were searching for Q. And that is because big changes are going down in Armenia. And Anon posted this, thousands of people in the streets cheering and hugging each other, jumping up and down, honking their horns. Things are happening so quickly. I don't think the crowd was expecting this, but it's exactly what they wanted. And Anon said, this is just amazing. Q said, like North Korea, they have been freed. Assets are on the ground. Q. So we have assets that are on the ground, and we are taking down the strings of control that the CIA has had in Armenia, just the way we did in North Korea before they got free. By the way, speaking of North Korea, it looks like the talks between South Korea and North Korea are moving along pretty well. And I believe the president will be speaking with Kim Jong-un in the next month or two, probably. Q posted this, and let me read this to you. Think SA, Saudi Arabia. Order is important. Saudi Arabia first, then North Korea. North Korea, then comes Armenia. After Armenia, then it's Iran. After Iran, who's next? Any other rogue nuclear states? I don't know. Pakistan? Other countries? Define hostage. Define protection. Who is protected by rogue nuclear states? Trust the plan. What Q is getting at here is that the CIA provides protection for these rogue states. And the rogue states allow the CIA to skim money off of their weapons trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking, all the other stuff that they do. CIA gets money from it to fund their black ops. They provide protection for the rogue leaders. That's kind of how it works. CIA black ops is essentially it's a protection racket. It's like the mob. So Q says, trust the plan. The world is connected. Why are the border states like Arizona and California important? Why is Mexico vocal against Trump? Who are those who are the loudest are the most guilty, right? Where we go one, we go all. The Great Awakening, Iron Eagle, Q. I'm guessing the answer to this is that Mexico is run like a mob organization. Everything is corrupt. The governors are corrupt. The president's corrupt. The entire thing is corrupt. It's probably backed by the CIA. What does the CIA do? Everywhere they go, drugs, guns, human trafficking. They traffic things in and out. That's why, coming through our border, that is why Trump is so staunch on getting the border under control, because he wants to stop the flow of drugs, human trafficking, and guns, which is funding CIA black operations and is also imprisoning a lot of people. That is why Mexico is so vocal against Trump, because the CIA is propping up the Mexican government, and the CIA needs to have their grip of control on Mexico. And Trump is eventually going to break that. Okay, and Anon asked Q to remember Americans. Hey, just don't forget the Americans, boss. MAGA. Q said, happening now. All right. Q posted a link. It goes to the UN.org Auditors Board. And that is this page here. I am not sure what this is all about, but Q said, happy hunting, which means something is going down with the UN and their Auditors Board. He's asking the Anons to go in and dig on that and find out what they can. Q posted this, wake up, learn, question, fight. Link to an NPR article about some fundamental concerns that they have about Red Cross finances. And that is this article. 25% of Haiti donations were spent on internal expenses. And that's actually being very kind. It's much worse than that, actually. And the point here being that the Red Cross and their finances is coming under scrutiny. There are a lot of articles out there about the NGOs and nonprofits that have been doing work in Haiti, for example. This is another NPR article, if you're interested in checking this out. 5 years after Haiti's earthquake, where did the $13 billion go? One of the salient points they bring out in this is that USAID has spent about $1.5 billion on Haiti since the earthquake. Less than a penny of every dollar spent goes directly to a Haitian organization. So the question then is, where is the rest of the money going? slush fund, kickbacks, money going to contractors. There's a lot of corruption in these agencies, and Q is saying it's going to be exposed. Speaking of Haiti, no examination of Haiti would be complete without checking out what the Clintons have done in Haiti. And this is an article on Current Affairs, what the Clintons did to Haiti. Just kind of exposes some of the corruption and bad things that went on down there. And, of course, the Clinton-Silsby trafficking scandal and how the media tried to cover it up. Most of you are probably aware of Laura Silsby. She was a convicted child trafficker who got caught trying to smuggle 33 girls out of Haiti, got arrested, and the Clinton legal team went down there and got her out of trouble. So I think Q is just basically suggesting that the truth about these issues is going to come to light. Q posted this: Red Cross Iran, Red Cross Pakistan, Red Cross North Korea, Red Cross. Define smuggle. What is smuggled? What funds are used to pay for the goods? These people are sick. Relevant to events that are about to unfold. Follow the executive orders. Q. So Trump's executive order of December 21st authorizes the Treasury Department to freeze assets of organizations involved in human trafficking and human rights abuse. The CIA, as well as DynCorp, Halliburton, and other agencies, are big-time offenders. This is an incredibly interesting article. You might just search for this: The Secrets of the CIA's Global Sex Slave Industry. I got a little bit into this, and I was just kind of blown away. This gal has chronicled sex trafficking in the CIA and other government agencies. Congressional testimony it's really well resourced. There's a lot of good links. The president is trying to expose this and take it down. All right, moving along. This is a long post, and it has to do with Osama bin Laden. UBL is kind of a universal acronym for Osama bin Laden or Usama bin Laden. When was bin Laden killed in Pakistan? May 2nd, 2011. Where was he located? Close proximity to? Think logically. When did the Owan's mission op go green? 2004. Follow the timeline. What happened during this time with Huma Abedin, Valerie Jarrett, and the Owans, plus 3 more? Link to a bill. Follow the timeline. Link to another bill. Secretary of State. Link to another bill. Who is protected? Link to a Guardian article about the changes in aid to Pakistan over the years. Aid cut off in 2010. Coincidence? What happened in 2011? Define exchange. Sick yet? Q. All right, so let me unpack this for you, step by step. Q asked what happened during this time with Huma Abedin. This whole time was being worked into Hillary's circle of influence. Hillary Clinton has worked with her as an aide as Hillary went into the Senate and then during her political career on her own. Huma was taking trips and doing different things with her, but she was essentially becoming Hillary's deep state handler. They were inseparable. They went everywhere together. And Hillary was attached to Huma Abedin at the hip. And if you're interested, this is a PDF. It's called America Rising, the Complete Huma Abedin Report, detailed history of the figure at the heart of the Hillary Clinton operation. Very good detailed report that goes into everything you ever wanted to know about Huma Abedin. And you can find that on my Twitter timeline, on my thread if you're interested, or you can just search for it. All right. During that time, Valerie Jarrett was essentially doing the same thing with Barack Obama. She had become Obama's handler, made sure he went to the right appointments, make sure he said the right things, made sure he didn't get a step out of line, and was becoming his big defender of anyone who criticized him. So Huma Abedin and Valerie Jarrett were key in the development of these two political people. All right, so Q posted this link, which is a bill from May of 2012, sponsored by Dana Rohrabacher. Not that one, but this one. The Pakistan Terrorism Accountability Act. And it essentially is an act that was brought to hold Pakistan accountable for aiding and abetting terrorists. All right, then Q posted this link, which is a bill to withhold aid to Pakistan based on whether or not the U.S. Secretary of State would certify that the Pakistani government had provided any information that they had on the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden. Interesting. So if the government cooperated, they could get aid. If they did not cooperate, they would not get aid. All right. And then, let me get rid of some of these, and then Q posted this link. This bill was actually submitted before the previous two. And this was submitted by our friend Al Green. The Pakistani Temporary Protection Act, which would give temporary protected status to Pakistani nationals like the Awan brothers. And that is here. Close that. And I don't think that bill ever passed, but Q is trying to give us a little breadcrumb through the wilderness to understand how this all kind of played out, and it's going from most recent backward. All right. Q then posted this link to an article that shows a waxing and waning of U.S. aid to Pakistan over 60 years. It's really just a graphic that shows that we have at times given a lot of financial aid to Pakistan, and at times given very little aid to Pakistan, and it's kind of gone up and down over the years. All right. Q noted that aid to Pakistan was cut off in 2010. It was started up again in 2011. Coincidence? That was the same time that Osama bin Laden was holed up near Pakistan's military training facility when Q asked when UBL was hiding out, where was he near? He was actually near what would essentially be kind of like West Point for Pakistan. It was a training facility for military officers for the Pakistani army. So I think what Q is suggesting is that Pakistani intel, they knew where Osama bin Laden was, and they wanted financial aid started up. So they gave us Osama bin Laden's position, and we agreed to give them the aid. It was essentially a transfer, right? So Q asked up here, define exchange. They gave us Osama bin Laden's position, and we started up the Pakistani aid in exchange for that. Right. Q said, listen carefully, trust a plan. It is the video that will get President Trump elected. Don't want to get a strike on my channel, so I'm not going to play that one. It's right here. You can listen to it if you want. All right, creepy picture of Hillary making out with Senator Byrd. Q has posted this before. And let me zoom in a little bit. Make this a little bit bigger. I'm just going to read this to you. And this is a graphic about that shows how the Democrats have consistently voted against abolishing slavery, giving blacks the vote, things of that nature. It has always been Republicans who have supported the rights of blacks and minorities, even though that is not what you'll be told by the mainstream media or history books. Q says it's time to learn the truth. Why are D's inspiring activist groups to remove history regarding slavery? Why are history books painting a different picture than before? Why are teachers following a new false script? Republicans are racist. Learn the term projection. Projection is when you accuse others of doing the things you're doing yourself. Why are they threatened? Mainstream media has you brainwashed. They want you controlled. They want you enslaved. They want you divided. They want you dependent on them. What has the Democrat Party done for the black population? What has the Republican Party done for the black population? What has Trump done in 1 year? brought black unemployment to the lowest levels ever. What's the net worth of black leaders today? Why does Nancy Pelosi mention Martin Luther King 74% of the time during her weekly addresses? MLK was a conservative. Learn the truth. Reread the drops regarding slave grip of the black population. Why do we look at skin color? Division. It's time to unite and fight for our freedom. Together we are strong, apart we are weak. Patriots have no skin color. Q. All right. Q posted a couple of links here and said coming soon. First link is to Chuck Grassley's announcement that he is referring Planned Parenthood to the DOJ for investigation regarding fetal tissue procurement, basically selling fetal tissue. And the second link is to a Fox News article. It's on the same thing. So Q said coming soon. Things we can keep our eyes out for. All right. Q said this. Iran is next. Marker. Reread. POTUS today. Mark it down. Bigger problems than ever before. The president was asked about Iran's threat to start up their nuclear weapons program if the president refused to certify the Iran deal. Trump said if they start up their weapons program, they're going to have bigger problems than ever before. Was it a signal to Iran? Oh, I think so. And then Q says, going back to this class, section 11A, paragraph 2, it's important, right? We believe that that is the, it's what President Obama used as a basis for the Iran deal. And it allows the president the freedom not to impose sanctions if he chooses to. It refers to more than just the continued payments of $250 billion. I think that goes to the EU, Iron Eagle, Sweet Dreams, Q. All right, and Anon asked if Emmanuel Macron was really an ally to the president. Q said his sole purpose of the White House visit is to convince Trump on behalf of the EU to remain in the Iran deal. You decide. That would be a big no. All right, Q said this. What's at risk? This is for the EU. 250 billion times, twice a year. What the taxpayers don't know. They aren't North Korea. Why aren't North Korea developments receiving worldwide praise? We endure. Well, I'll tell you one reason why, and we talked about this earlier. I believe this is a reference to the EU getting kickbacks for keeping in the Iran deal. They sent Macron here to get us to stay in the Iran deal because they want their money. Pretty simple. Why aren't the peace talks in North Korea getting worldwide praise? And Anon posted this. I thought it was brilliant. And this is in quotes. The Central Intelligence Agency owns everyone of any significance in the major media. This is a quote from William Colby, former CIA director, cited by Dave McGowan in the book Derailing Democracy. Another quote, there is quite an incredible spread of relationships. You don't need to manipulate Time magazine, for example, because there are agency people at the management level. This is William Bader, former CIA intelligence officer, briefing members of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And then another quote, the agency's relation with the New York Times was by far the most valuable among the newspapers. According to CIA officials, it was generally the Times policy to provide assistance to the CIA whenever possible, as quoted by Carl Bernstein. So, Q posted, hostage no more. Trump's goal is to make sure that no nations and no people are held hostage by the global elites or the CIA ever again. And Anon found it amusing that Q may actually be posting from the meeting that the president had with Emmanuel Macron. Q, are you live posting from within the meeting with Macron? That's amazing. And Anon then said, Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for his work. And Q posted, we are in this together, no fame. This is about taking back our freedom. and saving our children and people from evil that has plagued our country and world for so long. Q. And Anon asked when we can expect the big news story to drop. The Moab. When will we have the Moab? Moab is an acronym, mother of all bombs. In Q's jargon, it is a major news event. Everyone wants to know, when's the Moab coming? Well, look, you just have to wait. News stories break when they break. Q said, should we tell all the good people watching the day and time? Red carpet rollout? Think logically. The world is watching. Q. Chill out, people. It's coming. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Maybe you're already. And Anon told Q, breaking story, Sarah Carter, DOJ will make 6 months of missing text messages that were eventually located by the Inspector General between Strzok and Page available to Congress sometime tonight or tomorrow, according to sources. Developing story. So then Q wrote this, red carpet event tonight, state dinner. What will the text reveal? Moab or precursor? Q. All right. I just found it incredibly amusing that Trump chose not to invite the press or any Dems to his first state dinner. He is a troll, and it is why we like him. All right, if you're interested in the texts, this is a True Pundit article that was published months ago where Thomas Paine essentially got information. Thomas Paine has a lot of connections inside FBI and DOJ. And they said, the insiders said, that the texts between Strzok and Page actually are about threatening physical harm to the president. And as long as we're talking about that. This is something Q posted back in January. What would happen if texts originating from an FBI agent to several internals discussed the assassination possibility of the president or members of his family? What if the text suggested foreign allies were involved? Forget the Russia setup. This is only the beginning. Be careful what you wish for as the world turns. Right, and As the World Turns, we know, is a reference to the soap opera, which was interrupted to bring the news of JFK's assassination. Q goes on to ask, could these messages be publicly disclosed? What would happen to the FBI? What would happen to the DOJ? What happens to the special counsel? What happens in general? Every case could be challenged. Lawless. Think logically. And we haven't started the drops regarding human trafficking, sacrifices. That was in January. Some of that has come out already. So remember, this was all planned from the beginning. They're dropping things now that they had not even mentioned previously. All right. So do the messages between Strzok and Page contain threats of harm? Well, we're going to find out. Q posted this morning. They feel threatened. This is about us. Expect more, an outcry. We are being set up and targeted, DDoS. DDoS is when they attack your website and they take it down. All for a conspiracy LARP. LARP. Live action role playing. Fake. Whenever you see the word LARP, just think fake, phony. But a lot of people are calling Q a LARP. But if Q is a LARP, if Q is phony, then why is there so much media attention and people trying to take down Q? This is a link to an NBC News article. And I think it's this one, right? After the Toronto attack, online misogynists praise suspect as a new saint. This is a complete hit job on 8chan and 4chan, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, but let me continue. So Q said they must win. New strategy? This is regarding Democrats. They must win the midterms. New strategy. Promise jobs and money to all. Desperate? Nervous? There's a link to a Fox article. Stay awake. All right, going back to the first article. The MSM is basically calling 8chan and 4chan hate forums. Let's see, hateful communities on web forums and social media platforms don't proactively enforce rules limiting hate speech. That's what they're all concerned about. Reddit has basically just said, we don't care if there's bad stuff in these hate forums. 4chan and 8chan are completely outside the bounds of normality. When millions can be imposed to heinous propaganda, you are setting the table for ultimately hate speech and ultimately hate crimes. So they are saying that 4chan and 8chan are propagating hate speech and hate crimes. They're trying to smear 4chan and 8chan, and Q said, this is about us. They're trying to hurt the credibility of Q and the Anons. This is the second link that Q posted. Bernie and the Dems are pushing full-on socialism for the midterms. Reparations for people whose relatives, ancestors were harmed by slavery, income handouts, guaranteed income, guaranteed jobs, free money for everybody, free college. But you're not supposed to ask where the money's coming from. Don't ask. Just take the free stuff. Of course, there are a lot of people who never think about the fact that the government can't give you anything unless it first takes it from you, because the government doesn't make any money. Government can only give what it takes from us. Foolish plans, but that is where the Dems are going. So, and that's actually not surprising. When they poll Democrats and liberals, most Democrats and liberals do not like the plans of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. They don't think it's socialist enough. They want the platform to move further left. They really want what Bernie is espousing, which is free goodies, free handouts for everybody. That is really what the mainstream liberals want. So that's what they're going to get for 2018. All right. Anon asked if Macron can be trusted. Hey, is Macroni our guy, or is this all a sham? Q posted this. Politics, same for Merkel. Think movie, Q. Q often says you're watching a movie. All right, when you watch a movie, you feel like things are happening in real time. You don't know the outcome, but the whole thing is scripted. People say their lines, they do what they're told, they say what they're told to say. Outcome is already determined. So Merkel and Macron are doing what the globalists, they're shills for the globalists. And what I think is just hilarious is the president is doing, publicly all this welcoming speech, and he's so nice to Emmanuel Macron, and he's holding him up as an example to the free world and saying all these wonderful things about him. And in the back channel on 8chan, Q is posting, yeah, well, Macron's just a globalist shill. And so is Merkel. Don't be fooled by the window dressing. Trump is doing what he has to do, but he has a plan, and here's the plan. So Q posted this. Think logically. Do we attack the world? Are the people of France to blame? Are the people to blame, or the ruling class, the leaders and controllers? Apply leverage. That is what Trump is great at. He is great at finding people's weaknesses and applying leverage to their areas of weakness. Strategically, one by one, unity, power shift, rise of the people, worldwide, not world war. Not understood? Q. I understand it, Q. Loud and clear, baby. And Q wanted everyone to know WW means worldwide, not world war or anything else. Try harder. I love it. So an Anon asked Q, when in real life, IRL, are things going to start happening? Q explained it this way. The world is connected, all or nothing. Plus, 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 and then plus, plus, and then plus. Trust the plan. We get massive amounts of Q thank you letters from around the world every single day. The world is watching. Q. I wonder how do you email or message Q? Because I want to do that. I would be like, hey, Q, you're awesome. I don't know if Q has an email address. Probably not. I might have to send it to the White House. For those of you who are new to this, the pluses. Okay, I can't mouse over that because it goes away. All right, the plus, 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 and the plus, plus, and the plus. Way back when Q first started posting, he posted the pluses a lot, plus symbols, and there was 3, 2, and 1. The 3 pluses represents the House of Saud, the Saudi royal family. 2 pluses represents the Rothschilds, 1 plus George Soros. And Q told us back then there would be a planned takedown of the House of Saud, the Rothschilds, and George Soros. It was organized, strategically set up, and it was going to go in a certain order. Everything that Q and the team are doing is happening in order. So people are getting anxious. They're getting upset. They're like, oh, we want to see people arrested. But look, here's the deal. Everyone has their pet peeve. Some people want to see the chemtrails gone. They want, the lies about vaccines exposed. They want GMOs exposed. They want everything exposed, and that's their issue. But you have to realize Trump is solving global problems. Human trafficking, human rights abuse, corruption in the banking systems. He's working on a lot of things. And he's moving in the direction we have to be patient and not have little temper tantrums because our little pet peeve isn't being addressed. It actually is being addressed. A lot of people think that Q doesn't know about their concerns. Q does know about our concerns. You just go on Q's posts on 8chan and you see all these responses and all these comments from the Anons. If you have a question, other than for you, Travis, King Broly, I don't know if anyone has actually asked Q who's going to win the Stanley Cup. I haven't seen that question, but maybe somebody has asked it. If you can think of the question, someone has asked it at Q. So don't, like I said in the last video, don't be too concerned that Q doesn't know about your question. Q knows about your question. Q has been asked 1 million questions between November and today. And Q is rolling everything out on a planned, scheduled, that we just need to, let it happen when it's going to happen. All right. Q turns our attention to General Flynn. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Yes, we're serious. Okay. We knew this day would come. We knew people would need a guide. We all have a part to play. We knew Flynn would be challenged. Part of the plan? Flynn Jr. recently did not lie to VP. Timing. Plan. Signal sent. White House position in brackets. Moves and countermoves. Roll outside of the White House. Lost house. Funds for legal. Beat up. You are watching a movie. What is right? What is wrong? Up is down. Left is right. Left is left. White House position, brackets, rapid, changes. Why? Planned. Visibility in one helps another. Connected. CIA to Secretary of State. North Korea, Iran, Russia, China, Mexico. Why is it relevant? Think pushback. Open source. Why? They are watching. Proofs provided to retain. Future proves past. History books. Q. This is this is a little shocking to me. Q essentially here is saying that the entire narrative about Flynn is window dressing for some things that were going on behind the scenes. And that he's saying that Trump and the team have had Flynn working in a role outside of the White House. Strategic role, doing something very important. He lost his house. He needs funds for his legal fund. He's been beat up by everybody. Is all theater. Okay? Hard to believe, but that is what Q is saying. You're watching a movie. It has been scripted, and people have been thinking this is legit, this is real, and it's actually not. That Flynn has been at work behind the scenes doing some very important stuff. All right, over here on the right side, CIA Pompeo went from director of CIA to Secretary of State so that he could deal with North Korea, Iran, Russia, China, and Mexico, because there's a lot of pushback. Trump said Pompeo is a guy for the job, so there's been a lot of changes in staff. John Bolton comes on as National Security Advisor. All these people are coming and going. Why? Looks chaotic, looks crazy. all planned, all important. This is going to be written about in the history books. All right, so let me go to the Flynn thing. This is really interesting. This is a CNN article that says Mike Flynn Jr. revealed something very important about the Russia investigation. On Monday morning, Mike Flynn Jr., the son of President Donald Trump's former national security advisor, tweeted something, well, very interesting. American patriot General Flynn did not lie to Pence or anyone else in the administration about his perfectly legal and appropriate conversations with Russian Ambassador Kislyak. Flynn Jr. tweeted, "Why would a highly decorated military intel officer lie about something legal? It's been a mainstream media lie from day one." Okay? Now, Flynn Jr. is coming out on the record and saying his dad did not lie. So, of course, CNN is blowing a gasket because they're saying, hey, wait a minute. Pence said that Flynn didn't tell the truth. I was disappointed to learn that the facts had been conveyed to me by General Flynn were inaccurate. And then Trump says I had to fire Flynn because he lied to the vice president. So what the heck's going on? Who's right? What is this? How can Mike Flynn Jr. go on the record and say that Flynn didn't lie to Ambassador Kislyak? Well, Q is saying that whole thing was planned. It's all set up for a purpose. So, we are going to learn more about Mr. Mike Flynn. I'm glad this is finally getting on the front burner because I know a lot of people have been wanting to know more about the general and what's going on and what's really been happening. All right, so let's move on to this. Q posted this just a little while ago. And let me zoom out so you can see it. They tried to delete the proof. POTUS win. 120. January 20th was Inauguration Day. Deep clean. They never thought she would lose. Insurance without a cover. Nothing is deleted. No such agency. Tool development, primary and metadata is essential. Easy cover. X, so sick and evil. Conspiracy push or fake. Reality almost always wins. Trust the plan. Hard to swallow for many. Treason and corruption first. Think resignations. Coincidence? Speaker of the House resigning. Coincidence? You have more than you know. Have faith. Where we go one, we go all. Q. All right. So yes, they tried to delete the proof of their crimes, the deep state. Everybody in the FBI, DOJ, Obama administration, when Trump won, they freaked out because they knew there was all this evidence around that they had done some very bad things. But you can't delete things because the NSA has it all. And Paul Ryan resigning as Speaker of the House. How interesting is that? That publicly, I think Mike Pence is with Paul Ryan in Wisconsin today. And they're putting Paul Ryan out there on a platform, letting him talk, letting him speak about the great tax cuts and the budget plan and all the great accomplishments. I think they told Ryan, look, we know what you're about. We caught you red-handed. Ryan is a traitor. Ryan tried to pull a coup against Trump when he was running and had got the GOP nomination. So they're giving Ryan his time in the spotlight. They're allowing him to step down and resign with a little dignity. His other option is he gets outed as a criminal. The NSA has it all. Nothing is forgotten, nothing is erased. And that is going to bring us up to date on today's Q posts. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this on social media. Thank you for red pilling your friends and neighbors. I've been doing some of that myself. Those of you who are supporting us financially, we love you. It gives me the ability to spend 2 or 3 days a week researching all the Q drops. That is going to wrap it up for this time. Pragmatics signing off. I will catch you on the next broadcast.